Hello again, folks. We're doing a basic drawing demonstration today, and I decided to add some music. Might be a little bit more fun. This is St. Elmo's Fire. I'm not sure what the artist is. I'm going to check here. Anyway, we're going to get started here. I talked to one of my fans this week, and he showed me a drawing that he did of a Star Wars character, Kylo Ren. And I said, okay, your proportions are pretty good, because he had a body that was 2 heads big. And I always do 2 heads for a body. So here's our shoulders. And that's the top of the head. So those are 3 heads, and every person basically that you draw is about 6 heads tall. That's how you measure. So here's the hips, but I count the hips as kind of being in line with the legs. So we're drawing 3 heads for the legs. And that gets the measurements right every single time. I've drawn hundreds and hundreds of characters, and I use the same formula for each one of them. With female characters, obviously, I make the hips bigger and the shoulders more narrow, but I still use the 6 head rule. So, 6 heads. What's really cool is they actually used to dig people up. So, that's like a zombie art model there that go to be grave robbers, because they didn't have cadavers. They didn't have morgues and medical labs, so they actually had to go into a graveyard to find a human body that they could study. But that's what they discovered, is that most people are about 6 heads tall or in length if they're lying down. So this will get you to draw basically that made the heads, they all have to be the same size. It made them a little bit big, but basically that rule will get you to draw an accurate, realistic looking this is really nice. This is Starship, and nothing's going to stop us now. I feel like a DJ. I guess I'm a VJ here. Anyway, this rule of 6 heads will get you to draw realistic looking characters basically every time. So it's really important. A lesson in anatomy if you want to be a cartoonist. Because if you're going to be doing human looking characters, even if you're doing something like Zootopia, where it's an animal that has a human personality, you're still going to have to measure things out. So that's the math of art. You need to understand proportions and how to measure things in order to make something look really beautiful. So for hands and feet, I usually just do triangles. You do a triangle for each foot, and then a triangle for each hand. Alright, I'm watching the camera here instead of my piece of paper, but it works out pretty well. And then we have the basic mold for our superhero. Normally I would do this in pencil so I could erase all the funny lines. But sometimes we can get some basic concepts here, like if we want to add, we go to adding basic muscular structure. Give them pectorals, and that's what they look like. They look like trapezoids. And then you see how that center head that we used can be a good basis for abs. You can just draw a line right through that, and you got a nice set of abs that look correct and proportional. So that's kind of cool too. I didn't realize that until I started this. But that's the shape of the ab muscles. Then you got what's called the obliques, which are on the sides. And they're basically shaped like feathers. like a geometric feather. That's what they look like. You put them at an angle, and the obliques are actually responsible for turning the torso left and right. So they pull in either direction. It's really awesome when you think about the human body and anatomy and function. Now, the deltoids are always upside down pyramid shapes. So there we go, and we have an already existing circle for the biceps. And the flexors and extensors are the muscles of the lower arm. And what I usually do is just a bunch of bananas, because that works. You do a bunch of bananas, and it looks like a really good. I mean, there's a muscle that comes down here too. You see that? But a bunch of bananas works for the lower arms. Like a bunch of bananas, or you can do hot dogs stuffed together. And you can see the musculature developing in the character. The neck muscles, you don't see most of them. You see the sternocleidomastoid, which is the one that comes down and kind of... I'm running out of pen here, so I'm going to stop for a sec.